Is he the biggest reason, or is he one of the reasons? Is he a number of reasons as to why they're not at top form?
Well, statistically, that he is the main reason, because they've only lost 2 of their 78 games when he's played, which is some stat. I mean, it's quite ironic that Pep Guardiola used to refer to Spurs as the Harry Kane team, when actually City are the Rodri team. Without him, they're shapeless, they're rudderless, they're leaderless, and they don't have anybody to protect that back four. But there are other issues as well. Haaland, if he doesn't score, who is scoring the goals at the moment? Kovacic isn't available either. The players for that goal, who was tracking that run for James Maddison for his first goal? He gives it, he makes the run around Son, he finds himself in a position to tuck it away. Who is alert enough to pick that up? And they are all basics. We've seen shots from the All or Nothing documentary, haven't we, about the way that Pep is able to identify things, specific things in the dressing room and hold his players to account for those things. I don't think he'll be allowing them to cling to the Rodri excuse. I think he'll be asking them to look at what they could have done in specific situations to address the problems that he has seen. Yes, it is mostly Rodri that you can hang your hat on in terms of an excuse, but I think it's much more than that.
OK, he admitted, he said they are fragile defensively. There are people already writing them off, actually. If you read some of the papers, there are already people saying, do you know what, this is it, it's not going to be their season. We know they go on these sublime runs, certainly in the new year. They're still capable of that, aren't they?
Certainly. I think they were, what was it, in 2020, I think they were 13th at this point in the season. And then they went on and won 15 games in a row. So they're certainly capable of doing that. But I think this is the biggest challenge that Pep Guardiola has faced during his time at City. There's so much been going on off the pitch as well. Maybe that's had an effect, distracted some of the players. But he needs to really get them in today or tomorrow, speak to them, sort this out, tell them a few home truths about what's been going wrong, about the fact that they're not working as hard as they used to.
You'd think that he wouldn't know how to do that, though, because he's never had to do this, right? He's never had to call a team in and go, hang on a minute. This is not what he does.
Well, no, that's not quite true. I mean, as Carvey was saying, the 2020 season, they only had 20 points from 12 games. So 20 points out of 36. And they managed to turn it around, and they managed to put that run together. Historically, in the first half of the season, we've said this before, they're hunting around. It's almost like the Grand National. You know, there's so long to go, so many competitions to play in, so much form, so much jeopardy in terms of injury and all sorts of things that could take place to affect any team, let alone City. I remember this season where Leicester beat them 5-2. He hadn't signed a contract yet. On this very show, we were talking about, is this the end of the cycle? Can he rebuild a team? And he did it back then. So obviously, we would be crazy to write things off. But when you say people are looking at this and thinking it's perilous, it's our job to do that. It's our job to assess whether or not a team can get to where they normally are by the end of the season. And we base that on what we've seen before. We base it on the state of the team, as you've been summing up, Carvey. And I, for the first time, I worry, because I look at what Rodri gives that side. I look at the fact that Liverpool are doing so well. It's all very well City self-destructing, but it's whether the other teams around them can take advantage. And we all expected the team to take advantage to be Arsenal. Nobody factored Liverpool into that. And if they were to win today against Southampton and beat City next weekend, they'll be 11 points clear. And with the way that Arne Slot has them, like a well-oiled machine, top of the league, top of their Champions League group, 4 wins out of 4 in the Champions League, the only team so to do. Defensively, they look so strong. They're scoring goals for fun. That's why City should worry, because obviously, as you say, they do have that capability to put that run together in the second half of the season. But could they leave themselves with too much to do?
Well, even Pep says that himself. He says, lose to Liverpool next week and the gap's too big. Do you agree with that? Is because Liverpool are doing so brilliantly, Are they going to be
So
impossible?
if Liverpool won today
He's saying
they win next weekend, it'll be
Pep says
11 points.
If we lose to Liverpool next week, he said the gap will be too big.
I think definitely at the moment Liverpool are the favourites to win the title.
Yeah.
They've been in incredible form under Arne Slot. I think he's been in charge for 17 games. They've won 15 of them. Only lost one against Nottingham Forest, drawn one against Arsenal. They are sort of performing the way Manchester City used to. You know, they are on course to have a season where they get something like between 90 and 100 points. This Manchester City side doesn't look like it's the kind of side who can amass that kind of points tally. I think what Pep Guardiola has to do is just look at yesterday's game and work out, why are these players not running as much as they used to? Why are they not tracking back? For instance, for the fourth goal, why is Timo Werner just sliding past Kyle Walker, who's one of the fastest defenders in world football? Why is Ilkay Gundogan in midfield not tracking James Maddison? You know, he needs to work out, because the talent is there. I think it's just a question of confidence, application, maybe. And I think Pep Guardiola can sort it out, but obviously time is running out, and he needs to sort it out if they want to win 5 in a row.
There are specific reasons as well why the concern is growing, because the previous 4 defeats, they'd all been away from home, they'd all been in different competitions, and obviously there were players that were not available, so you can understand why it would be the case that you could give them a pass here, you could give them a pass here. This is the first time they've been beaten in front of their own fans in 52 matches, in 2 years, and when that aura of invincibility starts to be lost at home, then you can see other teams saying, actually, they are mortal. We can go at them. We can take advantage of that hole in the middle of the park, and maybe 1 or 2 ageing legs in certain positions. It might be based, even on what we're saying here, that that's the grist to the mill that Guardiola needs to create that siege mentality that he uses so well, and we saw another manager in Manchester United in Manchester use so well over a couple of decades. But certainly from what we're seeing, both there and also at Anfield, there is a huge, huge crisis. I think we can use that word now around the club.